Hey Wargamers, it's Chris with Wargame Creations, and today I'm going to be bringing you a video showing you how I made my scrapyard for Necromunda. I also have a lengthier version of this available if you'd like to go check it out on my page. The link will be in the description. First thing I did is I gathered up my scrap tiles that I had messed up and also any pieces that I was going to be using to complete this build. I went ahead, went through, attached them all. Started with the dreadnought pile, got it complete, and then kind of worked my way around, kind of laying it out, figuring how I wanted to get it all done. Took a little bit of finessing, but finally had an idea. I also knew that I wanted people to be able to kind of stand on the dreadnought pile as a transition piece up to higher ground. So I went through, I just kind of attached everything till I was kind of happy with it and used up most of the pieces that I had. Kind of moved on to another section, worked on this pile over here. That was a failed ruined wall, and also this pillar I had just kind of tested because something wasn't right, so I kind of snapped it in half, so it worked out and it was perfect. I went through, just kind of attached the stairs, made sure that there was clearance for everybody to move around. Like I said, I kind of messed around here and made this bridge. I knew that I needed them to be able, regular minis to be able to fit underneath of it, so I went ahead and added a little bit of height so that I could set minis under it and not have to worry about it. Some of the Necromunda models might be a little bit shorter than this guy, but as a rule of thumb I use him just kind of as a spacer. Took a little bit of modification, but I got this to sit nicely in between these two pieces here, just kind of sticking with the theme of like buildings and things like that. I went ahead, I attached this. This only had like 2 or 3 small little surface area to glue to, so I did that and then kind of used filler pieces to attach it to later. I knew I wanted a desk because I wanted some sort of clerk to be kind of sitting there, so I found this half doorway piece that was messed up and I used it, and then also this pillar to kind of give it a little bit of support. Went ahead, I worked on attaching this is actually an X-wing piece to the top of the little clerk's desk here. And I just kind of went in and filled all of the blank areas that looked a little off with random pieces, trying to kind of stick with the theme. I stuck some barrels over here by the clerk's desk and a few springs and things like that. A couple 3D printer pieces. Just kind of messed around, nothing specific. I couldn't find a piece that I liked that matched up with the theme I was going for. I knew I wanted to make some sort of like wall that I could hang things on. So I used these little like toothpick dowels. Just kind of made the other supports for the X-wing part there. Like I said, this change just kind of reinforcement for that satellite piece that we had placed down earlier, just because it didn't have a lot of contact. Then I went through, once I had attached most of the pieces, I kind of took some corrugated paper and some of this, I believe, I can't exactly remember what it's called. It's called like knitting cloth or something like that. But I just kind of went through, cut little pieces of it out, made it look like it was, you know, decaying from rust and things like that. And then I also built my little shop wall out of that. As you can see, I'm just kind of going around adding little details in here and there to, like I said, the areas that didn't necessarily look right or were too open, didn't have a whole lot of clutter in them or anything like that. These sprues, as I'm sure most people have, these are great for adding to, you know, anything to give it an old dirty look. These wires are just from an old, I believe, like a car adapter AC plug or something like that. They were the easiest to work with as far as stripping. I tried to use some headphone wires, but those just were a pain in the butt. So I just kind of glue those down flat to make sure that they don't come up after I paint them, because the paint will flake off. I just go around next and kind of hit everything with a cutting wheel. Just quick little pass to kind of make it look like it's old and worn and been sitting there for a long time. I had a change of heart and decided I wanted to do something different with the light, so I cut a hole in the top of the X-wing here so that I could basically slide the light down like from the top of it. So I went through and I just kind of cleared it out, and it worked out. There was a little hole that was already cut kind of on the underside that allowed me to put that in there very nicely. I went back and just reattached kind of the same shape of the panel that I had ripped off, just, so that I could still access the T-light, change out the battery, and maybe even the light color in the future, or whatever. So I went through, kind of attached that, and then I made a panel that goes onto the magnet that you see there, so that way in the future it could be easily removed and placed back on if I need to. Just kind of messing that up. Same thing with the grinding wheel. Next thing I did, I went through, used hot glue to kind of simulate like large clumps of dirt. I also used super glue to simulate smaller clumps of dirt, but the hot glue was mainly used around the base of all of the structure pieces that I had used and glued together. Also, I used sand and sanded grout for this effect, going through, as you can see with the super glue, just kind of using the sand and sanded grout to simulate either rust or dirt that's built up over time. Just kind of throw some down in random spots, sprinkle it on. Once you have kind of a dirty panel, then you can use like a liquid super glue to come back through, spray that down over top of all the loose dirt, and it should help lock in loose dirt as well. Instead of having to work with the glue first and then the sand, you can work with the sand and then the glue. So when that's all finished, I go ahead, I give it a prime in black, just like most of our terrain pieces that we're going to do. Get it all primed up, looking good. Then what I'll do, I'll go through with a brown, kind of stipple, or I'll just sponge in like a brown all over the entire thing. And this is going to be our rusty phase, so if something's planning on getting covered, you don't have to worry about doing this step in the process. Then I go through with an orange filter and a dry brush. Basically the filter is just watered down paint. Just kind of stipple that over top of the different patches of brown. Go through, dry brush with the orange, gives a more new rust appearance. So I use this masking fluid for all of my chipping effects. As you can see, I spill it everywhere, but that's just my luck. So we'll soak that back up with a squirt bottle there. Go ahead and we'll make use of what we can. Sponge all that on all over anywhere we want rust to be at. You can also use chipping effects AK or whatever it is, and it will produce probably, I guess, a different looking result. I wouldn't say necessarily better or worse, but a much different result. But for time and convenience and ease, this is definitely a beginner-friendly way to do this. So I just kind of go through, add colors over top. When I'm done with my rust stage and I'm done with my liquid mask, then what I'll do, kind of pick out just different colors. As you can see, there's some green, red, gray, blue, yellow. Just an assortment, just kind of contrasting them to make different pieces pop out, especially the bigger pieces. I wanted to really kind of draw attention into the dreadnought pieces and some of the larger building objects that were sitting around the tile. So I kind of keep these colors as they are. I don't really wash them or anything like that. So they do have some pop, but that will be brought back down later. These floor tiles, I do have a video available if you'd like to go watch that. It will be in the link in the description. Same with the pillars. I'm just kind of following the theme that I stuck with in my previous videos for these objects, so that way it'll match the rest of my tiles going into the future. As you can see, just kind of working in some of the dry brushing colors on here, doing some final touch-ups on the colors. Then I'll go through, pick out any kind of small details that I couldn't have hit with like the brushing, the dry brushing or the sponging, and I'll just kind of paint a little bit of character into the tile here. Then what I'll do, I'll go through and I'll hit this kind of in patches with some dry brush. Metallic color for this to make it look like fresh, like freshly worn metal. So, especially on the dread pieces and building pieces and all the corrugated panels and things like that, I'll go ahead and I'll apply little blotches. When that's all finished up, I go ahead and I remove all of the paint mask that I had put on. As you can see, it starts kind of bringing to life some of that rust that we had done previously. Next thing I'll do, I'll go through, I'll block in the dirt and sand, just kind of hitting the larger piles with this tan color here, since that's going to be kind of the primary color that we're after with our sand here. So, as you can see, I kind of painted all of the little super glue and hot glue piles we had done and kind of touched up anything that was covered up by my sponging. Then I went through with the dry brushed around kind of all the edges and just feathered it all out and made it look more like piles of dust and sand, not just clumps of dirt. Went ahead, I added some brown into the base as well, anywhere where heavy concentrations would be, to just darken it up a little bit. Then what I did, I went through with this orange color. I applied it all over the big concentrations of sand, especially anywhere where rust would be. Kind of simulates a scorched earth effect, I guess, where everything's burnt. It's a hot, terrible desert. So go through, I'll add all that wash, and then what I'll do, any kind of other washes I'll need, like this nylon oxide, I'll go ahead, I'll apply that. As you can see, I did the pillar, I did the shield here. Just make sure you use lots of water so it runs into the crevice. If you need to, you can use a paper towel to kind of dry the surface, and that'll really help keep the, I guess, like the flatness of the color from taking hold. So, last thing we'll do, take a dry brush, we'll just kind of go over top of all our dust and dirt to just kind of lighten up that orange color that we had. And also go back through kind of the walls and things like that to really like give built up dirt appearance all over the walls. So that's pretty much it. If you liked this video, please make sure to go subscribe, give me a thumbs up, turn the notification bells on, and let me know what you like or dislike about this video, and I will make sure to make improvements in the future. Thank you guys so much.